For over 30 years, Mike Kelly was the voice of the longest-running real estate talk show in the North Bay, The Real Estate Hour. The legacy continues with Allison Norman and her business partner, Stephanie Norman, the newest mother-daughter real estate team, hosting with updates, information, and tips for buying or selling your home. DRE license numbers 017-20334 and 022-09237. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
To you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to my third born child.
Aw, thank
Each
you.
special in their own way. Anyway, happy birthday. Yesterday,
you.
but
Yes,
we weren't here
yesterday.
yesterday, so and you're competing with Memorial Day as usual.
Yes, as usual.
As
That's
usual.
okay.
It was the curse of the Memorial Day birthday where every birthday
everyone
people are, oh
always goes
man,
away on
we're
my
going to be
birthday."
out of town that week. Sorry, we can't come to Stephanie's birthday party. Anyway, we had a good day though. We went to we did a little staycation and went to
yes.
the Flamingo yesterday.
Yes, it was very
and
nice.
Hung out at the pool.
Everyone else had the same idea.
Yeah, it was busy there.
That's okay.
It was busy. A little chilly. The wind was blowing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The wind.
We were bundled up under our towels. But
It
no,
was windy, wasn't it?
it was windy.
was,
When the
yeah.
wind stopped, it got really warm really fast. But then the really cold wind would blow in. But it didn't stop anyone from having fun. So. If you haven't been to the Flamingo in a while, they've done a really cool update
Yeah,
and
it's really nice.
very
I love
retro,
it.
very mid-century modern, nice rooms and
Yeah,
the pool,
definitely.
the restaurant, and all the things. So we had fun.
And I was just going to say, speaking of Memorial Day.
Yeah, a
just
little
wanted to
Memorial Day
say,
message to
yes,
you.
Happy Memorial Day tomorrow. And as we celebrate this 3-day weekend, let's take a moment to reflect on the countless lives lost in service to our nation. On Memorial Day, we honor and remember those who have given their lives in service to the nation. We hope you have a meaningful day remembering our heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. We will always remember and honor you.
Yeah, thank you. And to the families who... this is not just a happy, barbecue, go camping, beginning of summer weekend.
Yes.
It's a true memorial of those that, family members and loved ones that were lost.
So make sure you take some time
Don't
to reflect
forget.
on that and think about those who lost their lives during service
Yes,
to our nation.
thank you. Ultimate sacrifice. All right.
Yes.
So, and anyway, so having said all of that, we are we're going to kind of move on and talk about one, just a reminder, and we have been mentioning it, and I don't want to go too deep into VA loans and veterans because there's a Veterans Day to talk about and celebrate you, Joe, who is also a veteran, and thank you every day for your service. But we celebrate those who've been lost on Memorial Day, and then all the veterans and those serving in active military on Veterans Day. Yeah.
And all the other days.
And every day.
But
So
today, tomorrow is for those who.
yeah, and but I do want to just a reminder and note, we work with a lot of veterans and doing home purchase using the VA loan. It's a great loan. It's actually lower interest rate than right now, and really pretty typically it is a lower interest rate. And a surviving spouse does inherit the entitlement of their veteran who has passed. So that does carry over to a spouse. So just keep that in mind if you didn't realize you are eligible for VA financing for a home purchase and refinance and all of the things. And it's a great program, and we'd love to help you if you're in that place where you would like to use your entitlement. And which they call it an entitlement. It's the amount that they will insure a loan for, and it's 100% financing. So no money down, very low closing costs. They roll in the mortgage insurance into the loan, and there's a lot of different loan different purchase scenarios, multi-unit, land, construction, fix-up, like a fix-up type loan and all of that. So keep that in mind. So today we're going to talk about seniors, downsizing, a little bit of facts and information about the really huge number of seniors, over, I think they're looking at like 69 and over, or mid 60. I know, because I'm
You had to pick 69?
I said, I'm sorry. Well, you'll be happy to know it's actually age 61 is when most people say they feel free to choose where they most want to live. But anyway, no, this is talking about seniors. So it is usually somewhere in that. There's actually something retirees age 50 and over. So Joe, you and I are both in that that category.
Yes, we are.
Anyway.
Way over it, actually.
That's okay. Anyway, we're part of a huge group, and we're going to talk numbers on that and then a little information about downsizing. Mm-hmm. And then on kind of the flip side of that, there's some information I had on, who's actually buying, and the age of first-time home buyers is actually higher now. It's an older group that are actually first-time home buyers. So we're going to talk about that as well. We have a little bit of information about, I kind of touched on it last week with the return on investment, the ROI, and I know in our advertising, we don't use acronyms here, and for some reason that got rolled into our ad, and I've had a couple people say, well, you should explain what ROI is, because we say the best ROI. And not everybody knows what ROI is. I'm
raising my hand.
ROI is your return on investment. And what does that actually mean? We're going to talk about that during the show. And then really there's that kind of, that what comes first, the chicken or the egg scenario. But what do you, not really, but what do you do if you have a house that needs some updating, you're going to put it on the market? Do you put the money into it? Do you just sell it as is? What's the best scenario? And really, it's a very personal thing. Not personal as in you don't want to talk about it, but personal as in it's based on your specific scenario. What is your goal? What is your timeline? What does your financial look like?
That's a big one.
And then how does it make sense? Are you going to get that return on investment if you put the money into it? So. Yeah. We'll talk about that.
And I just wanted to throw this out there. When we were speaking out Memorial Day, I forgot to throw this in there that I didn't have time to look up all the events that are happening, and a lot of them already happened. So I'm sorry we didn't post those or talk about them.
Last week, yeah.
But California State Parks is offering free admission to veterans, active, and reserve military members on Memorial Day. So there you go, Joe. If you want to go explore some national parks, or California state parks, go for it.
That sounds like a good plan. I also like to mention one thing, too.
Okay.
Santa Rosa Rural Cemetery on Franklin Avenue. They have a nice ceremony there every year.
Nice.
I've been to most of them. It's free. They ask for admission. Donations appreciated, but it starts at noon, and it is really a nice ceremony. So,
awesome.
Before you go to your barbecue,
right,
that would be a nice place to go.
Yeah, take a minute to remember why we have a Memorial Day and
why we have that 3-day weekend.
Why we have the freedoms that we do in this world.
Maybe 30 seconds.
And then go have that barbecue. Yeah, but and even while you're having the barbecue, to reflect a little on the fact that there's a reason why we have that nice 3-day weekend, and we get and it is a nice kickoff to the summer.
It is. Yeah.
And that just reminded me that congrats. I mentioned last week Stephanie wasn't here. You were at a Sonoma State graduation for a friend. A lot of the schools are starting their graduations now. The high schools and all of that. It's coming up this next week. I think is our my grandkids' last day. And I don't know when the public schools, I don't know. Anyway, it's all, I don't have kids in school anymore. I don't remember.
Yeah, don't keep track
Joe, we
of
were
it,
just
but
talking
I
about
think
that.
it's
not
mostly first week in June.
in June. Yeah, which is weird.
They
because
snuck it back into June
Yeah.
again, like when we were.
I know
Yeah.
when we were kids, right? It was June, and even when my kids were kids, it was
Yeah,
June, and then
I
all of a
think
sudden it
so.
was like May, and then I'm like, wait, what happened? What happened to June? And then it starts earlier too, so I don't know.
So I remember for my birthday, I always had to do it. Like we would bring like cupcakes or something to my class.
Yeah.
I think was it
Before your birthday,
before
yeah.
my birthday.
Yeah,
Because
because
otherwise
school is going to be
ended.
out. Ah.
And
Anyway.
then I always had my birthday in June because no one could go.
Nobody could go because it was Memorial Day weekend. Everyone left town. They did say it
Yeah.
was the biggest travel day. The what was it? The check. You know, when they check you in at the airport, they said the biggest numbers. It was.
That's hard to believe too when you throw in Thanksgiving and
Yeah. Everyone's all. It's since before COVID. They were saying it's biggest travel day. So maybe people are finally getting back to traveling. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so just like they're getting back to putting their houses on the market too, we've got some pretty high numbers coming up in a little bit. We've been talking about what's happening in the market, and if we're buyers market, sellers market, we've been talking about that month supply of inventory and all of that. So we're going to tell you the numbers as well. I think we need to take a break though. Let's take a break and then we'll roll right into the numbers and what happened in the market this last week and what's currently active on the market as well. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back.
Now, back to the Real Estate Hour, hosted by Allison and Stephanie Norman. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
Good morning. We're back. It is Sunday morning, and here we are talking about real estate as we do every Sunday morning. You can always find us if you can't catch. Our biggest competition is church.
Yeah.
So, we respect that. And if you can't listen to the radio show live, you can come. Joe puts the recording most times right up after the show. It's on KSRO.com, and it's a recorded recording of the show as it appeared on the radio. And then we are also now doing our YouTube. So you can see us and hear us, and it's the actual recording of the radio show. And we put that on YouTube, Sonoma County Real Estate Hour. If you want to look at it, KSRO on that and just listen, it's the podcast is KSRO.com. Ask the Expert. You go to shows, then Ask the Expert, and then you look for the Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie
And then you
Norman.
can also find us on Facebook, the Real
we're
Estate
all
Hour
over the
with
place.
Allison and Stephanie Norman. And I try to post everything on there, the podcast from KSRO, our YouTube, and I also post the numbers, the market update. So
Yeah.
you can
And
find
if-
all of that there, and community events and whatever else.
all the things. And we actually have people that listen from out of the area, and you can do that at KSRO.com. It streams live, so you can listen live while
Yeah,
it happens,
you
or
can.
all the other ways we just said. There's so many ways to find us.
Yes,
You have
there
no
is.
excuse for not listening.
I
to
know,
the Real
right?
Estate Hour, unless you just don't like it, and then you should message us and let us know how we can improve it. Anyway, so let's talk about the numbers. What happened in real estate, or what's currently happening? And we did mention numbers are up quite a bit, and they've been coming up slowly, and then suddenly here they are. We're looking at 1,119 active listings right now. That's a really big number. That's not a let's panic number. That's the market. The market is evening out number. We're becoming more of a balanced market. Technically, we're still kind of in a seller's market. Because it's about 4.5 months supply of inventory last time I looked. Once we get into 5 to 6 months, then it's a balanced, true balanced market. Anything over 6 months, then it's like, oh my gosh, it's a buyer's market. And what, as I've mentioned on the last couple of times we talked about it, what does that mean? A buyer's market means that the buyer has a little bit more advantage. There's more more buyers than there are listings. No, I said that wrong. There's more listings than there are buyers, so the buyers have a lot more to choose from.
Yes.
They are, as if you're a seller, they're going to maybe be asking for credits. They're going to be looking a little harder at, have you done the improvements? Are you going to give a credit? Have you priced your property right? We'll talk a little bit about that more later in the show about pricing and what we're seeing as far as price reductions. But if it's the seller's market, it's the other way around. There's hardly any listings. There's a bunch of buyers looking. And so in that end, the seller can kind of ask for more. They can really kind of pick and choose their buyer because there's more. We're really kind of heading out of that kind of a market and more into an even market. Where maybe everybody can be happy, and then you can find the property you want, you can get the price you want for your property to some extent, if you have somebody that's going to help you negotiate and all that. So anyway, having said that, 1,119 active single-family home listings with 364 listings in escrow. The median price of what's active on the market right now is $1,149,000. The median price of what's in escrow is $862,000. Something important to note, as far as we were talking about days on market, things taking a little longer to sell. 73 days on the market, all of the current active listings right now. That's the average of what homes that are currently sitting on the market have been in escrow. That doesn't mean there isn't going to be a property that sells in 10 days. There's always those different anomalies. We're looking at the average in the middle of the market. Condos, still a big number for condos too. There's 138 active condos in the market with 50 in escrow. Mobile homes, we have 88 active listings and 34 in escrow. Multi-unit, which is 2 to 4 units, duplex, triplex, fourplex. 2, 3, or 4 houses on one lot. That all kind of wraps into that multi-unit category. There are 80 active multi-units, 17 in escrow. That's pretty normal for be that big gap for the multi-units. What isn't as normal is the bigger gaps between the first two, the single family and the condos. Even the mobile homes, that's been pretty consistent with what we've been seeing in those numbers. Land also has inched up a little. It just hit a little over 300 last week. It's at 300 now. Active buildable lots and land here in Sonoma County, which is 21 in escrow. That also, even though that number is higher as far as active listings, it's still pretty consistent with what we've been seeing with 21 in escrow, 300 active. It's just, just kind of what we're seeing in that land. It's a harder market
It really is.
to sell as a buyer. If you're selling some land, just keep in mind it's going to be a tough sell. And pricing, it's really important. Getting it ready is really important. If you have the ability to put a septic system in, hook up sewer, hook up water, it's a little difficult because the county they oftentimes require you to have the plans in hand for what you're doing before you put in the system, which is a little backwards if you're trying to set it up and get it ready. But if at the very least, find out what the costs are, work with an engineer. Adobe Engineering's great. Hogan, who's the other one? BK Engineering, I think, is another good one here in town. There's others. If I left you out, I'm sorry. There's some good engineering companies out there. So, and they can help you get your land all kind of set up. There's also permit consultants that can help you figure out the zoning and all of that. So, the more you have it ready and looking easier for a seller, a buyer, the better. Also, connecting with lenders, and your realtor can help you with that. Get some loan scenarios and who can buy this property.
Yeah, and keeping it maintained is a big one too. You want it to be attractive as possible to a buyer.
Yes. And it's
and
easy
that's
with
not
the land,
just by
especially easy.
looks, but by getting all the things done, like Allison was saying.
Yeah, and that goes for all of the listings now.
It really is, yeah.
With the high number of listings we have.
Get those inspections, do that yard maintenance, all the maintenance that needs to be done, and all the inspections ahead of time. That way, when buyers come in, there's no surprises.
Right. Yeah, that's so important, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about pricing it right and all of that, right?
Yes,
and that's
definitely.
and also the ROI and the fix or sell scenarios, sell it as is. But that's what we have for the numbers. We don't. Somebody left their notepad at home, so we don't have.
Sorry.
She was partying on her birthday.
I
too.
know,
No, it's
right?
her birthday.
So
It was her birthday.
She gets a pass.
She does get a pass today. You get a pass on your
It's
birthday.
my birthday. I can forget if I want
Yes.
Use that for as long as you can.
Yes. She's rolling her birthday into June because she's doing some stuff with some friends in June. Anyway, I do remember one of the numbers, though, that we were talking about that came up. It was a big number, and that's
It
the
was,
price
yeah.
reductions, right?
Yes, it was a big price reduction.
They were right around 118.
Yeah,
and
I
that's a
believe
big,
so.
and I think it's been more kind of in the 80s, 90s, and that'll kind of roll into our conversation about pricing a home right. Home sellers are pricing too high in some cases. You don't want to be chasing the market down, and I'll explain what that is when we come back from the.
And another, I just wanted to throw out there. Yes, I did forget the numbers, but I will have them on our Facebook page, the Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman. I will have both market updates, the one with the one that we just talked about, and then the hot sheet that I normally do, but I forgot it. I will have all of that on our Facebook page, the Real
It'll
Estate Hour
all
with
be
Allison
there.
and Stephanie Norman.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a couple minutes, Joe. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. Well, let's talk about pricing right and what's going on.
Can we talk about that in 2 minutes?
Sure. we have to. We're going to make it work. Okay. I mean, we are. This is the time when the market starts, filling up with inventory. It's really crucial as a seller that you price your property right the first time. Don't think, well, let's just try it at this price. That is going to hurt you. There was an and it's going to hurt you. So just be careful. It's called chasing the market down. Basically, you put your house on the market and then another house comes on the market down the street and they're lower price. So you're going, oh shoot, we better lower our price now because there's all these there's all these buyers that are going to look at, they're being picky choosy now, because they have more to look at. So we better lower our price to that. And then that listing goes, oh, well, now we're even with this. We better lower our price because we're not selling. And now, so now you're chasing, as a seller, you're chasing the market down.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that scenario. And what happens when a buyer sees two things: if it's clearly overpriced and it's the days on markets is stacking up, there's no price reduction. What I think if I was a buyer and also as a buyer's agent, what we think is, well, they're not going to be negotiable. They're pretty set in their ways, or they would have dropped the price. And a lot of times you shouldn't think that way, because a lot of times they are waiting. If somebody brought a lower offer, they might consider it, but they're not ready to actually drop their price. So don't assume that they're not going to be negotiable, but at the same time, as a seller, drop the price if it's time. If you're willing to take less, drop the price.
And also, buyers don't just assume that they're willing to negotiate or what is it when they
that they're going to do a counter offer?
Yes, counter offer. Thank you.
Don't
think of the
assume
word.
they're going to do a counter offer. Bring in your best, because there may be other buyers
bring your best
looking at
offer.
it. Right. It's a weird market, so we say it's a little slower, but it's really, you never know how many people are looking at that same property. Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back.
Now, back to the Real Estate Hour, hosted by Allison and Stephanie Norman. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're back. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Happy birthday to Stephanie.
Yes, woohoo.
Doo-doo-doo. Another trip around the sun.
Yes.
Alrighty. So, and many more. Let's talk about, so I was talking about price reductions and the importance of pricing it right. We did see really higher than what we've seen in a while, number of price reductions at 118 this last week. So when we start seeing the price reductions, that's a good indication that there's more inventory. So people are going, and it doesn't really mean your home's value is going down. It just means that that, some people are kind of overshooting their idea of value. And we need to look at
and
that.
It's competitive right now, too. So you want to make your house more attractive than the other houses. And sometimes that's by lowering the price.
Right. Yes. And it always kind of comes down to price. People say, oh, well, let's do this or let's do that. And let's see, maybe we're not marketing it well enough, or maybe, we're not reaching the right people, or maybe we need to fix up the house, and all of those things help, but ultimately it comes down to price. And if your house isn't selling, take another look at the price, see what other properties are selling, what's going into escrow while maybe yours is still sitting there, and kind of maybe analyze why. Yeah, there's some things you can't help. There's nothing you can fix, so drop the price. Unfortunately, but starting at a lower price is more important than dropping the price. So starting at a price that's and especially if you found another property, absolutely you got to put a competitive offer. Competitive price on there. Lower that a little under the other comps. And they're and then also if you are in a hurry, you absolutely need to get your house sold in the next couple of months. Price it right. You've got to price it right. There was an interesting article about home sellers pricing too high and not listening to the market. Experts warn. Nationally, 18% of listings saw price reductions in April, the highest share for the month of April in records dating back to 2016. Wow. The good news is, I guess it's good for California, is we're not on the list of top 10. The first two, or the two highest, led the nation in price reductions was Arizona and Florida. Oh, that's interesting. That's where we saw the biggest drop in value when the market tanked back in 2007, 8, around there. 6, 7, 8. Not to say that's happening, because it's not all economists say this isn't happening. This is not. Yeah. This is not 2007 and 8. This is not when all of that happened. There was a lot of factors leading up to that. This is just an adjustment, but it's the overestimate of the market. When a market has more inventory, you have to take price into more. You have to take it more seriously. It's not a time to test the market with, well, let's try it at this price and see what happens. Anyway, so listing agents say they hear unrealistic price expectations most frequently from sellers who bought their homes during the frenzy of the COVID pandemic era. Housing boom when bidding wars were common. Bidding wars are not common right now. However, I'll say there are some that are going to get, there's always those anomalies that, and not even maybe anomalies, but it's a really weird, interesting market where you'll put a house on the market and you expect a bunch of offers and you get none. And then there's the other house where you think it's going to maybe take a little while to sell and you get multiple offers. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it just is what it is. But pricing it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, so we're not one of the top 10. However, we are at about 16% statewide price reductions. So it's just important. Put it on there. So what else?
I was going to throw out there too, as a reminder that when we do the market update, it is for Sonoma County only. And when you hear on the news or wherever you listen to news
or watch or read,
it's usually national. So when we do market updates, it is
countywide.
Thank you.
And we can narrow it down pretty tight for you as far as neighborhood, zip code, type of property, all the things.
A specific city, which we do cover 5 counties.
We do. We cover parts of Lake County, lower parts of Mendocino County. We go over to Napa and we go down to Marin and Sonoma. Of course, Sonoma's our base, basic market, but we do work in Marin quite a bit, and Lake County, Napa, and lower Mendocino County.
If you want market updates on any of those, we can help you.
We can.
Those counties.
Yeah, and we also, Keller Williams is an international brokerage, and we have a huge network of agents that we know around the world who can help you if you're thinking of getting out of California, if you're thinking about getting out of the United States. We know agents in Canada, in Europe, and in Greece. I know a great agent in Greece, in Athens. what was the other, Portugal. We've got friends that moved to Portugal. We have in Mexico, and I mean, really everywhere.
Everywhere.
Anywhere, or if you just want to move down to Southern California, we've got some great agent friends and connections that we know there. We're working with some clients who are moving here from Chico, who a friend agent of ours in Chico connected us. So it's a huge network of realtors. So don't just reach out on, whoever you find online. Reach out to us. We'll connect you with somebody who we know is going to take good care of you. Okay, so we got off track. But
I know. Sorry, that was me.
No, it was important stuff.
Yes.
But just to make sure everybody's clear, we are not in a danger of property values plummeting. Okay, we're more we're heading kind of into more of a balanced market. And what does that mean? It means that buyers have more homes to choose from, and they sometimes have less competition, a little more negotiating power. And then sellers are still getting great prices, but they need to price widely. And like we mentioned, it's really important to have your house ready. And more important, and that's just fixing the little things, or at the very least, finding out what needs to be done, letting the buyer know that up front, offering maybe a credit for some of it. You don't want to be in escrow and then have the buyers find out all the things that are wrong with your property and go, well, never mind, we're just going to go get something else.
Because that does happen.
And that completely derails you. You lose the momentum of the new listing on the market. Buyers are looking at it going, well, I wonder why it came back on the market. There must be something wrong with it. There's so many reasons why we avoid at all costs going back on the market. It does happen. Sometimes the buyer can't get the loan when they thought they could. Sometimes it's no fault of the property, but if it's because of something that came up that you could have known ahead of time, let them know about, it helps so much.
It really does.
It makes a big difference. So right now in this market, that's a little of a softening market, it's really important to get your house to a point where we're hoping it's not going to fall out of escrow because, and if it does, it's because the buyer couldn't, they changed their mind or they couldn't,
because of the house.
Because it really is it looks bad when it comes back on the market.
You don't want those surprises popping up that could have been avoided.
Right. Okay, so I think we took that one as far as we need to right now. Drill it in, stress. It's important to get your house ready, and just know buyers are looking with a fine-tooth comb and their magnifying glass and everything else, and because they have more to pick from, and that's why. But we don't want you to panic. It's not a market to panic. Yeah. It's just a market as a seller to be aware that you need to price it properly. You need to get it as fixed up as you can, or able to, or price it accordingly if you can't, right? So that I think that kind of brings us into the conversation about ROI, which is R.O.I. It's an acronym, and we don't normally use acronyms.
I know. I told you after the radio,
commercial.
I was like,
we don't use acronyms, and they're all okay. Everybody knows what ROI means, and I'm like, people have said, "What's ROI?" I thought you didn't use acronyms on the Real Estate Hour. So,
and that was a Mike Kelly thing, by the way.
That was a Mike. Yeah, we don't use acronyms, and because that reason, we
not everyone knows, and we're here to educate you, on real estate. And not if we're doing acronyms, we're not teaching you anything.
Right. Well, so now we are. We're teaching you. So if you didn't know what ROI means, it's ROI is return on investment, and it's the amount of money that you put into a property. Are you going to get that money back, or how much of it are you going to get back, or is it going to get you more money back? And so there's a lot of different things. And there's this list that I kind of read from, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, but it's the home projects with the best return on investment. And this was from the National Association of Realtors. And this, again, national numbers, so really that doesn't tell you what in Sonoma County return on investment. But and this was weird to me. Return on investment, 100% return on investment, the top of the list, a new steel front door. And I saw that, I'm all, what? And maybe it's because maybe in the snow country, maybe somewhere where the weather, you need the new steel front door. Maybe that matters to people. So that's where local makes such a difference because here
That's a good point,
I don't
yeah.
think a new steel door is gonna.
No, I think a new door does make a difference if you
Yeah.
even just painting it or adding one with some windows or just some kind of different design to it other
Absolutely.
than just the normal front door.
Yeah, new front door because it's the first thing people see.
Yeah.
New front door, new garage door because
Yes, that's another
people
big one.
that
yeah.
fixing up the front of the house. I think that can be a return on investment
Yeah.
because especially it's more it's kind of how much bang for the buck you're going to get. How much more are you going to get out of putting this money into it?
Yeah.
And so that's what when we're looking at ROI and return on investment, are you going to get the money back that you put into it?
Yeah.
So something like here's a good example: putting a pool in. Absolutely, a fan just came on. It
Interesting.
sounded like running water. I thought maybe you were putting some sound effect on, Joe. Maybe it's just in my headphones.
No, I hear it too.
It's the soothing sound of rushing water. Yes, so putting a fountain in your backyard. No, actually, some people do that because if there's road noise, putting a little fountain in the corner of your yard, and then it either it's helpful or people go, there must be road noise because they've got this sound
I
to
never
drown
would have
out.
thought of that.
Oh,
I
that
would've-
why why they put that there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. It's just that really nice soothing sound of
Yeah.
running water. But anyway, sidetracked. Say a good example of bad. Something that you're going to do that's not that it's bad, but it's not going to give you the return on investment is a pool.
Yeah.
Putting in the cost of putting in an
yeah.
in-ground pool is not going to give you, if it costs you $200,000 to put that pool in, you're not getting, unless it's in an area where everybody has a pool and you
Yeah.
really need to have a pool or else people are going to go look
Or if
elsewhere.
it's someone that really wants a pool and that's what they're looking for and they're willing to pay more.
$200,000 more.
Because they're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what
That's
I want.
the
I
one,
wanted
yeah.
a house with a pool.
So high-end properties,
But,
you
yeah.
might get your return on investment, but a lot of
the times we see where there's a pool and they're like, oh geez, I wish there wasn't a pool.
Right.
What's it going to cost to fill up that pool and get rid of it?
Ah,
Or
yeah,
drain it and
exactly.
get rid of it. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
So that's when we talk about return on investment. Somebody and I say, here's what I would say: are you going to enjoy the pool? Is this pool personally for you, or are you trying to add value to your house?
Exactly.
If you're trying to add value to your house, don't put a pool in.
No.
If you're you want a pool because you're going to enjoy the pool, put a pool in. And you're spending the money personally for your enjoyment of the time.
Yeah.
How long are you going to be there? Is it going to make sense to pay to put that pool in when you're not going to get the money back? That's another thing to look at. Also, I've talked to people who put a pool in and their property tax goes up because you have to get a permit, and then the tax the assessor goes, oh, you put a pool in, and they add value to it. Which doesn't really make sense because it doesn't add really value to the house, but it
interesting.
raises your property taxes. So go figure. But anyway, so this list is weird, but it's new steel door, closet renovation. I guess a closet renovation, you maybe, depending on how much money you spend on the closet, some people go, oh, cool, look at this built-in closet stuff. Some people might not want a
interesting.
built-in closet, but vinyl windows, this is usually at the top of my list. And I don't know, I guess this list is how much percentage you're going to get back. So this is more a return on investment, not what people want to see in a house. They do kind of go together, but this one, new vinyl windows, the cost, you're getting about 74% back, return on in value. So you're paying, 25% of that you're not, or 26 you're not going to get back. Is basically what this is saying. So it's really weighing those things. Kitchen renovation, I think you get more return on investment from a kitchen update than a whole renovation.
Yeah.
So if you're getting your house ready for the market and you're going to gut the kitchen and put a whole new kitchen in, you're probably not going to get the money back for that in the value of the home. But if you do an update, new countertops, if the cabinets are still good, paint the cabinets, have somebody come in and refinish them or do it yourself.
Yeah, even a big one is new handles.
Yeah,
The
new handles,
If
new
you just-
appliances.
Yeah, you want it to be the right, is it gold that's in? Is it
That
the
brushed gold
black?
right now
yeah,
is in.
that's in. And then
and
before
black.
it was the black handles or silver. So if you get it updated to what is it, modern?
Yeah, look and see what the trends are.
yeah,
Look at
trending
some
looks
listings.
yes,
Go
and-
look at some listings or look online at listings. See what the stagers
Pinterest
are
is a
doing.
good one, too.
Yeah, see what the stagers are doing. See, and sometimes something as little as changing out the old brass or gold, the old gold, not the new gold, but
Even
doorknobs and
yeah.
light fixtures. Those light fixtures in the bathroom.
Light fixtures,
they're really
definitely.
inexpensive.
And fresh paint.
Yeah.
Fresh paint on the walls.
Goes a long time. So that's so those are really good return on investment. But talk to somebody about it and kind of talk to a realtor, talk to us, and we can help you even if we're not working for you at the time. But we can sit down with you and kind of go, what could you do? What should you do? How much?
Yeah.
And I think we need to take a break, and we'll finish that. Well, no, let's just wrap this up real quick. So, basically, we'll look at does it make sense to do these things, and how long are you living in the house? Are you going to be there another 5 years, and this is something for you? Then fix it up. Do the kitchen renovation. It will, in the long run, add value to your house when you go to sell, but it maybe not as much as you're going to spend on it. But if you're going to live there and it's for you, that's one thing. If you're getting it ready to sell, be careful how much money you spend. And there's some things where we'll say, you know what, don't bother with that. It's not going to help. If you're putting your house on the market the next year. So.
Yeah, and I was going to add to that on the exterior of the house. Sometimes if you could just do a pressure wash, and it makes a huge difference. And other times you do need that fresh paint on the outside. Yeah. Where pressure washing isn't going to help.
Right.
So
and that's something that's it's going to be dollar signs the buyer's going to see and go, oh, okay, I have to paint the house.
The roof as well, yeah.
Roof's a big one. I'd say roof is a good one, return on investment. One, it's something you're going to need to do anyway.
Yeah.
If you don't fix it, the buyer's probably going to ask for a credit, or they're going to run the other way because they can't get insurance because it needs a new roof, because they can't get a loan because it needs a new roof. It depends on what stage the roof is in.
Definitely.
Solar's another one, and we had an interesting conversation real quick with a guy in the solar industry, and he was saying that they no longer what was it? It was something to where, because I usually tell people be careful with that because it could cause a problem when you go to sell. There was something with the extended service that they have. If a buyer's coming in, they don't want the solar, they'll just take it off. And I think that's something new, and absolutely check into it. But if you're thinking about getting solar, find out from them what happens when I sell.
Yes.
That's a really crucial question to ask. What happens when I sell? Even if it's the one where there's a Skype program where it goes as an assessment on your tax bill, you can't get a loan sometimes unless that's paid off. And so that'll have to be paid off at close of escrow. So is that return on investment for the solar makes sense, because you're basically you're going to pay the whole thing off, even though you're not going to have the whole life of the solar on the house if you're moving within a few years, So ask those questions. Or talk to your realtor and say, hey, I'm thinking about putting solar on. Is that going to affect the sale? And we'll help you figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll take a break. When we get back, let's talk about seniors and downsizing and who's buying homes right now, okay? I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Good
We're back. It is Real Estate Hour. We're going to wrap up the show talking about our senior community and really a little bit about downsizing. So, we work with a lot of seniors. We belong to a group called Section on Aging, which is a networking, not just networking, but it's an organization of people who are in some way or another involved with the senior community. There's a few other realtors in the group. There's a lot of caregivers. There's home care. There's a lot of our retirement communities, our senior care communities. Anyway, I drew a blank on what else, but there's a lot of I think we have a trust attorney. Actually, I think we're looking for trust attorneys to join a Section on Aging if you are a trust attorney. Anyway, and we do there's a lot of education and learning about what's happening in the in the senior community and situation. But here's some. So also I'm a certified senior real estate specialist. Hard time saying that one. SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist. They put out newsletters and we have courses and stuff. So a lot of certifications. Stephanie learns it through me by listening and reading all of the information I get. But so we have some fast facts about seniors and downsizing. This is currently what's happening in the world and why the senior population is such an important piece of the real estate market
We
right
love
now.
our seniors.
We do, and they always love Stephanie too. Anyway, so 3.6 million members of the baby boomer generation, raise your hand, Joe and me, will downsize by 2037. 64% of retirees are likely to move at least once during their retirement. Age 61 is when most people say they feel free to choose where they most want to live. So they're out of the binds of maybe family, job, all of the things that kept them in a certain place. So now by 61, they're saying, you know what, I can live anywhere. Or they're really, they're more comfortable choosing where they want to go. 51% of retirees age 50 and over actually move into smaller homes after retirement. 41% of retirees believe they will downsize in their next move. And 64% of retirees have considered downsizing. I would add to that, I think there's also on the other side of that, there are families that are moving together, and maybe a family moving in with a parent, or a parent moving in with their family to help with the caregiving of of the young kids, or vice versa, the older senior that maybe needs somebody else there, so they're moving in with their adult children and families. So there's that we're seeing too. We see a lot of movement there, but sometimes it's just downsizing into their own home. They're not ready to bring in a caregiver. They're not ready to move in with family, but they are ready to downsize. So we see a lot of that. And some other fun facts about parents, families, and housing. According to the National Association of Realtors, 16% of home buyers are over the age of 69 years old. More than 338,000 Americans moved for retirement in 2023, up 44% from 2022. I think they haven't done the 24 report yet. They're always a little behind. This is from National Association of Realtors. A report from the Pew Research Center states that parents moved in with their grown children 15% of multi-generational homes in 2021, which is what I was just mentioning. Nearly 30% of seniors over the age 69 moved to be closer to family, friends, and relatives. Additionally, 25% of retirees who moved across state lines, according to the team of Raymond James. And they also reported that 2/3 of adult children expect to help their aging parents relocate. So, anyway, so that's what's going on, and that's why, and they kind of call it the silver tsunami. It's the baby boomers that are now in that age where they're retiring, not settling down at all in many cases until they're in their late 80s, 90s. Some we see, and some are earlier. But they're all, they're traveling, they're retiring, they're downsizing, they're moving in with family, they're moving into care facilities if they're in poor health or need help with those. Another acronym, the ADLs, which is activities of daily living. If they're not able to take care of themselves, or they're not safe in home by themselves, that's when you start looking for in-home care, or you start looking for a community to move in where they have that 24-hour care. Another quick thing before we run out of time is who's making the moves in this market right now. So with the higher mortgage rates, it's a small move, but for buyers waiting for relief, it's another reminder that affordability remains tight. So the rates are still kind of going up a little. So we thought we were going to see them drop, but they actually went up. Modern buyers are older, wiser, and more focused. First-time buyers approaching 40 often have defined goals and income to match. Repeat buyers in their 60s are thinking ahead. Downsizing, aging in place, or staying near loved ones. Your message should, this is written to realtors, your message should meet them where they are in life. So which we do, we try and meet you where you are in life, so we're about out of time. But anyway, it's just interesting that basically what they're saying in here is that a lot of times it's older. People are getting older and they're being first-time home buyers. They're finally buying a home. Anyway, we're going to run out of time. But Stephanie, I wanted to remind you of our quick message about Memorial Day.
Yeah, so have a happy Memorial Day. And as you celebrate your 3-day weekend, your Monday off work, don't forget to reflect on the countless lives lost in service to our nation. And just make sure you honor,
Yeah, we're honoring and
them.
we're
honor
thinking
and
of-
remember those who have given their lives in service to the nation.
Right. As you're enjoying that barbecue, remember why we have it, and to
Yes,
all the families out there,
definitely.
you're in our hearts and our thoughts.
Yes.
Take care.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman, the Norman Home Team on KSRO. Join them every Sunday morning at 9, covering every stage of a real estate transaction, from tips on buying and selling your home to North Bay market updates. Sonoma County real estate market knowledge from real estate professionals born and raised in the North Bay.